You are listening to Julia's Trucking Cafe News Hour. Welcome to Julia's Trucking Cafe Trucking News Hour. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so happy that you're here and that you want to listen to the trucking news. As always, I have lots of news to get to, so let's get right to it. A man is found dead in a crashed big rig and found to have a gunshot wound. Texas police are working to learn more about a fatal shooting incident and a semi-truck crash that occurred in downtown San Antonio area. This incident began early morning in San Antonio. Police received calls about a semi-truck driving erratically on Interstate 35. This was reported back on August 25th. When police officers located the truck, it had rolled over at the intersection of Casablanca and Austin Street near Interstate 35. The 45-year-old man found inside the truck had a gunshot wound. He was pronounced dead at the scene. His identity at that time had not been released, and it isn't clear whether he was a driver or a passenger in the truck. According to a local news outlet, a witness told police that she had been following the truck from San Marcos after it nearly hit her and several other vehicles. The woman said she called 911 and continued to follow the truck. She said that the truck struck another semi-truck but kept going on I-35. The witness said that the truck ran two red lights, and by the time she caught up with it, it had rolled over. Investigation into the shooting is ongoing at that time. And in our top story, a Tesla driver leaves the car in autopilot mode to watch a movie and nearly runs over two officers. We'll be talking about that later on in the show. But first, shots are fired at a truck stop. A woman is killed before a man is found dead in a rolled semi in San Antonio. And this goes with this other story that I just reported on. Texas police have released new information on that bizarre shooting and truck crash that left a man dead in San Antonio on Tuesday, August 25th. Inside the truck was a 45-year-old male with a gunshot wound who was deceased. Talked about the truck was spotted driving erratically. Shortly after noon on Tuesday, New Braunfels Police Department released new information on the homicide and reported truck stop shooting that are believed to be connected to that man's death. From the news release and the article, I quote, "On today's date, August 25th, 2020, at approximately 2:50 a.m., the New Braunfels Police Department and New Braunfels Fire Department, along with the Carmel County Sheriff's Office, responded to a report of a single vehicle accident in the 3900 block of I-35 North near Walmart, D.C. First responders arrived and found a black Ford Expedition parked on the shoulder of the highway. Inside the vehicle was a female passenger that appeared to have been shot and was deceased. The identification of the victim is 33-year-old female from Austin is being withheld pending notification of next of kin. As officers were responding to that incident, additional officers were called to the T8 truck stop at the 4800 block of I-35 North for a report of shots fired. Officers arrived and eyewitnesses reported that hearing a number of gunshots just before an 18-wheeler left the truck stop parking lot at a high rate of speed. Officers searched for the vehicle and for any signs of shooting but were unable to locate either. Approximately 45 minutes later, the truck, which was reportedly driving erratically at I-35, crashed in downtown San Antonio area, and the driver of the truck fled the scene on foot. The San Antonio Police Department is currently investigating the death of the male found inside the cab of the semi, and they currently have a suspect in custody. The New Braunfels Police Department Criminal Investigation Division and the Carmel County Sheriff's Office are investigating the death of the female, and at that time, that investigation is being classified as a homicide. An autopsy has been ordered, and New Braunfels Police and Carmel County Sheriff's Office detectives are working with San Antonio Police and other surrounding agencies on this ongoing investigation. And now in our next story, a trucking company says that $27,000 in owed tolls was a misunderstanding and not a ripoff. A Pennsylvania trucking company is under fire for $27,000 worth of unpaid tolls. Smith Logistics Services in Eden, owned by 41-year-old Darnell Smith, has been accused of ripping off the PA Turnpike between May 2012 and July of 2020. According to prosecutors, trucks registered for Smith Logistics Services were caught on camera rolling through the Valley Forge interchange on the PA Turnpike without an easy pass hundreds of times in the last 8 years, totaling $27,000 worth of tolls. Quote, "We've charged him for owing $27,000, said Bucks County DA attorney Jovan Jose. This is the first case to accuse a business of cheating tolls in Montgomery County since Montgomery and Bucks counties teamed up with the PA Turnpike earlier in the year. When you have individuals evading tolls, not just once or twice, but hundreds of times, that's not only unfair to other motorists, law-abiding citizens, it's also a crime. Despite the accusation, Smith denies the situation, saying it wasn't a rip-off, it was a misunderstanding, that's all. Smith is being charged with theft of services and waived his preliminary hearing on August 24th. According to court documents, Smith told detectives that he will pay when he has the money, but that he is not in that position right now. Well, of course not. So guess what? You're evading paying tolls. Take out a loan. Do what you need to do in order to pay the tolls that your trucks incurred. And in our next story, a trucking company owner says it's not fun operating amidst calls to defund the police. He says, "I can't imagine delivering to a city that doesn't have any police to rely on for my driver's safety," he said. The owner of Chicago-based trucking company says that the recent calls to defund the police have wreaked havoc on the trucking industry. No, they have not. Co-owner of JKC Trucking, Mike Kucharski, says that operating in Chicago and beyond has been tough since the calls to defund the police began. All the highway ramps to the inner city are closed, and people and truck drivers alike are being attacked and robbed. That is true. And we still have a police force protecting us," he said in a video interview. "I can't imagine delivering to a city that doesn't have any police to rely on for my driver's safety. Trucker morale is down. It's not fun trying to operate a business in Chicago." Well, that's Chicago. You know, doesn't mean it's everywhere, because I run all over the place and I haven't ran into any problems. In addition to the increased strain on his drivers, Kucharski is concerned that defunding police will have a financial impact on JKC and many trucking companies across the nation. He says he currently has full cargo, domestic protection coverage, but worries that insurance is going to put some kind of language in there that will say I likely won't be protected in those defunded cities, pointing out that this may force him and other company owner to purchase additional riders and likely increasing the cost of insurance. Yes, it will, because you need really domestic terrorism or riot insurance as a rider to your current insurance policy. He continued that defunding the police is a bad idea. Police are a critical part of defending our drivers. Defunding the police is not the solution. We have to work together with critical thinking to find a solution. During this time of crisis, the government has been in the driver's seat making decisions for small businesses. It's time for small businesses to take back the steering wheel. It's time for small businesses to make the right decision and get the economy moving again. He continues, "I welcome the politicians to sit down with us so we can educate them about what's best for the economy, because small businesses are the backbone of America. We have to get this economy roaring again, and I believe that it is time for small business owners to stand up to say something." When asked what advice he would offer to truck drivers and small trucking companies who aren't sure what to do or how to voice their concerns, Kucharski responded by saying, "I know the truck driver morale is down. I would tell drivers to hang in there. It'll probably get worse before it gets better, but I pray for better days ahead. These drivers are an essential part of the economy. They need to be motivated and ready to go. Our voices will only be heard together. It's not time to be silent. It's time to take action." But in a civil way, not in a aggressive way at all. And in this story, a man charged after allegedly shooting a trucker to death at a truck stop, stealing his big rig with a body still inside. And this is, again, a continuation of that San Antonio story. A Texas man is facing capital murder charges for the shooting death of a trucker and a woman that happened that Tuesday, and this was several days later. Police say that 32-year-old Austin resident Sacramento Martinez has been charged with capital murder and connecting to a pair of shooting deaths that occurred along I-35. And this was a day or two later. And there again, the New Braunfels Police Department say they believe that the incident began when Martinez shot and killed 33-year-old Austin resident Marisol Martinez just before 3 a.m. near Walmart, D.C. The pair had previously been in a relationship, and the victim had a protective order against him following a strangulation incident in March of 2019. Martinez then reportedly left the body inside a black SUV parked alongside northbound I-35 and fled on foot across the interstate to that TA truck stop. Once at the truck stop, police say that Martinez fatally shot 45-year-old Texas truck driver Daniel Seeger, then fled the truck stop at a high rate of speed with Seeger still inside the truck. The truck was spotted driving erratically on I-35 like reported and eventually crashed and rolled over about a block from the interstate in downtown San Antonio. Martinez fled the scene on foot and left Seeger's body inside the truck, police say. He was initially arrested on a warrant in connection with the March 2019 strangulation incident, but was later charged with capital murder, and more charges are pending. In Texas, a charge of capital murder can be made when more than one person is killed during the course of a criminal episode, or if a person commits homicide while also committing another felony. This incident remains under investigation at the time of writing that article. And next up, a truck driver is convicted in a fatal texting and driving incident, but receives a short sentence. A Michigan truck driver has been sentenced to less than 2 years in jail for a distracted driving crash that led to the death of a 9-year-old boy. This incident occurred October 20th in 2018 in Tilden Township, Pennsylvania. According to the local news outfit, truck driver Joshua Knight admitted to sending and receiving text messages while driving on Route 61. While distracted, Knight drove through a red light and crashed into the back of a car at a high rate of speed, killing a 9-year-old Yesir Diaz Ramirez and injured 4 of his family members. Knight pled guilty to homicide by vehicle and aggravated assault. He has since been sentenced to a minimum of 11 and a half and a maximum of 23 months in jail, followed by 5 years probation. And this next story is a hunk of metal almost took this truck driver out. A truck driver narrowly escaped injury after a flying hunk of metal crashed through his windshield. A social media user posted, "My buddy sent me this picture. He said he was driving through Ohio and another truck was in front of him and something flew back and hit his windshield. Thankfully, it didn't go all the way through and hit him. He said it was a landing gear plate off of a trailer and it almost caused him to crash, but he's okay, thankfully." Concerned fellow drivers took the comment section to offer thanks, said that he was not hurt. Yeah, that really doesn't, I don't know. Plate off a landing gear, the picture doesn't really do it justice, I guess. There's a couple of bolt holes and everything in there as well, so I'm not sure on that. And our next story is suspect posed as a truck driver in an elaborate $350,000 pistachio heist. California police have arrested a man who they say was involved in a complicated scheme to steal hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of pistachios. 23-year-old Fresno resident Seacon was arrested and faces charges of grand theft, looting, identity theft, and conspiracy. The arrest comes after an investigation that was launched August 14th when officers were dispatched to Stetton Pistachio for possible cargo theft. Investigators soon discovered that suspects had stolen the identity of a legitimate trucking company, then used that company's name to secure contracts for the delivery of 2 truckloads of pistachios worth more than $294,000. Police say that the suspects then took the pistachios to an abandoned property in Selma, removed the packaging, and sold the nuts to an unsuspecting buyer. As this investigation unfolded, detectives learned the suspects developed an elaborate scheme to carry out their plan, which included the suspect using a semi-truck, stealing 2 trailers from a Fresno business. Those 2 trailers were equipped with real-time GPS. When ag detectives contacted the owner of the company and told them about the thefts, they were able to track down the suspects as well as all of the pistachios and the stolen trailers. Thank goodness. They took all the pistachios out of the bags, put them in totes, and they recovered the $294,000 in pistachios and $60,000 in dry van trailers. Investigators say that there are more arrests are likely in this cargo theft scheme. The Fresno County Sheriff's Office, California Highway Patrol, Fresno Police Department, and Madera County Sheriff's Office assisted. Anyone with information is asked to contact Detective Brian D. Hahn at Tulare County Sheriff's Office at 800-808-0488. And you could do so anonymously. In this story, police are searching for a big rig after hit and run on a trooper's cruiser. Yeah, and they crunched that bad boy too. New York State Police are looking for a truck driver following a hit and run crash involving a trooper's occupied vehicle. This crash happened around 11:45 on August 21st on westbound I-84 in Kent, New York. The trooper was reportedly inside his vehicle monitoring traffic, running radar, when the vehicle was struck by a semi that fled the scene. The trooper was taken to the hospital for treatment and has since been released. Anyone with information is asked to contact New York State Police in East Fishkill by calling 845-677-7300. That's 845-677-7300. And this trucker's dash cam tells the truth after a brake checker gets bashed. If you don't already have a dash cam, this pickup truck driver's ridiculous apparent attempt to force a crash with a semi-truck may convince you to get one. The video clip was shared earlier in the month by Power Source Transportation, who says that it happened to one of their drivers. In the clip, a pickup truck driver zooms in front of a truck in the left lane, then slams on the brakes, forcing the truck to rear-end him. Protect yourself. Don't let the scammers win, the company wrote in a message, encouraging drivers to get dash cams for cases just like this one. I have 4 cameras in my truck. The 2 the company put in, 1 on my GPS tablet, and besides my phone. They are rolling all of the time. And in this story, troopers say a trucker leapt to safety from a flaming cab that was dangling from a bridge. This happened in New York. New York State Police say that a truck driver managed to save his own life after a crash that left him hanging from a bridge. The crash occurred just after 8 p.m. on August 26th on westbound I-90 in West Seneca, New York. Troopers say that 54-year-old Georgia-based truck driver Igor Simakov lost control on wet pavement, going too damn fast, while crossing the Clinton Street Bridge, causing his truck to strike the guardrail on the right shoulder. The truck crashed through the guardrail and was soon fully engulfed in flames as the truck partially dangled from the bridge. I'm surprised he got out. He was able to jump from the truck to a grassy area below on Mineral Springs Road and was later taken to hospital for treatment. The incident partially closed I-90 for hours, but all lanes reopened by the next morning. And in this story, sex trafficking victim seriously hurt after leaping from a semi. Another may be in grave danger. Texas police are asking the public to help them locate a truck that they believe may be transporting a sex trafficking victim who might be in grave danger. According to a news release from the police department, officers were called to the Flying J Denny's on Interstate 20 in Cisco around 9 p.m. on August 26 for reports of a woman who was seriously injured. The woman said that she had been kidnapped in El Paso, Texas, and she had been injured after jumping from the truck that was transporting her. Police believe that the woman was going to be used in sex trafficking operations. They also say that there are believed to be another female still on board the truck who is in danger. Police say that they are looking for a green truck trailer with a white stripe and pulling a white box-type trailer. The suspects in the truck are described as 2 Cuban males and a Caucasian male. The female who jumped from the truck is currently under care from crisis workers. Anyone with information is asked to call local law enforcement. See something, say something. You can call law enforcement at 254-629-1728. Area code 254-629-1728. See something, say something. And this next story, a runaway trailer causes traffic kerfuffle in wild video. Where they got these terms from, I have no idea. So this empty trailer lost its companion, the front trailer, and it looks like it's a second trailer of a flatbed, and takes a solo journey into oncoming traffic before crashing into a sign and spilling some of its load. Oh boy. And now cops are still looking to identify a murder victim allegedly slain by a truck driver nearly 40 years ago. Investigators are asking for help in identifying a murder victim killed nearly 40 years ago. According to Indian River County Sheriff's Office, the victim was discovered dead in a canal in River Beach, Florida, back in 1982. Officers say that there was a person of interest, a truck driver, who was in the area where the victim's body was discovered, but that he has not been criminally charged. The unidentified suspect is reported to have set fire to a semi-truck around the time of the murder, and a single long hair strand was recovered from the rig, but officers are unable to test it for DNA at that time it was discovered. The still unidentified victim was exhumed in 2016 in another attempt to identify her, and had been determined to have been a resident of Washington County, North Carolina. The suspect is also known to live in the same county, Washington County. In a recent interview, the suspect denied knowing the victim, but witnesses claimed that they saw the suspect with the woman who resembled her photos. The victim is described as a woman 30 to 40 years old, between 5'5" and 5'7", weighing from 140 to 160 pounds. She was wearing 2 rings when she was discovered. Anyone with information on the murder case is encouraged to call the Indian River County Sheriff's Office at 772-783-5671. There is a photo that is in this article that you will find in the show notes. And a truck manufacturing group slams new carb emission rule as not technologically feasible. California Air Resources Board passed a new rule aimed at dramatically curbing emissions from idling trucks, leaving truck and engine manufacturers concerned. On August 28th, California Air Resources Board members unanimously voted to adopt the heavy-duty omnibus rule, which will dramatically overhaul exhaust emission standards, test procedures, and other emissions-related requirements starting in 2024. The omnibus rule would require that the current oxides of nitrogen standards would be cut to about 75% below current standards beginning in 2024 and 90% below current standards in 2027. They say that the proposed emission reductions will be equivalent to removing 16 million light-duty cars from the road. The Truck and Engine Manufacturers Association released a statement criticizing the omnibus rule as impractical, stringent, and non-cost-effective for truckers. Yeah, they want to get rid of trucks. Their far-reaching omnibus low nitrous oxide rule is not technology feasible or cost-effective. In addition, the requirements starting in 2024 fail to provide the statutorily required minimum lead time for manufacturers to develop the technologies. The omnibus rule will go into effect at the same time as the advanced clean truck regulation adopted by them in late June of 2020 that will require truck manufacturers to begin the transition from diesel to zero-emission trucks in 2024. By 2045, every new truck sold in California must be zero-emission, officials say. The compounding and overlapping nature of two regulatory mandates approved this summer threatens California's commercial truck market. Well, you know what? Guess what? No trucks means no veggies to market, no fruits to market. Your produce markets are pretty much going to dry up. Instead of purchasing expensive, complicated, and unproven new vehicles in California, truck operators and freight shippers are likely to maintain old trucks longer and seek solutions outside the state. We fear that jobs, the economy, and the environment overall will be at risk as truckers buy vehicles out of state. Dealers lose sales, and the state loses jobs and tax revenue. Yeah, they're going to be going out of state. They say that the decision to implement the omnibus rule, that a workable and implementable heavy-duty program is attainable, one that addresses California's environmental needs while preserving the availability of new commercial vehicles that trucking fleets in the state need to move goods in California. Unfortunately, the rule that they adopted today is not it. And now let's take a short break. This episode of Julia's Trucking Cafe is brought to you by My Patriot Supply. As truck drivers, we all know what it's like to be at a shipper's or receiver's and have to wait to be loaded for hours on end. Am I right? Especially produce coolers and paper mills. That's why you need to be prepared with extra food in your truck, especially with the bad weather coming in, like it is over here in Kansas, up in the Dakotas and Minnesota. 90 was shut down, Interstate 94 was shut down, along with 29. What are you going to do if there's no food and a truck stop was without power? That's why you need to stay prepared with My Patriot Supply. Now, it's not what you're thinking. My Patriot Supply is delicious emergency food. They have food kits that are good up to 25 years. They come in a slimline tote that you can easily store in your food pantry or under your bunk. I can speak from experience. After living through Hurricane Katrina, we were without power for 10 days, me, my mother, and son, and I. If it weren't for the MREs that were flown into us, we wouldn't have any food. There was 4 60-foot pine trees that broke in half during that storm and crossed my driveway and landlocked me in. That's when My Patriot Supply would have come in handy. If I knew then what I know now about My Patriot Supply, I definitely have some of this food stockpiled in my pantry. Now, for a limited time, you could get a 1-week supply of food in a handy and neat-looking ammo can, like you see here, for just $39. Look at all that food you get. It's a week's worth of breakfast, lunch, and dinners, just for $39. How do you get it? Where do you go, do you ask? Well, I'll tell you. Just go to my website at juliastruckingcafe.com, click on the Emergency Food Supply tab, scroll down and click on any of the images to find out more information and get yours today. They even offer gluten-free food for under $100. Winter weather is here. What would you do if the interstate was shut down, just like I was talking about? You need to get My Patriot Supply and get it today. And if you remember a couple episodes ago, I spoke about the woman, that lady driver that got killed in Alabama. Well, her family issues chilling warnings to truck drivers following the murder of their daughter. Family member of a female truck driver who was murdered earlier this month on an Alabama interstate has a message for other truckers who find themselves in dangerous situations. Do not exit your truck. The body of 53-year-old semi-truck driver Christine Summers was discovered by a fellow truck driver lying on the road near her vehicle around 3:30 in the morning on August 19th at mile marker 118 on the I-5920 split in the Birmingham area. Her death is under investigation as a homicide by multiple agencies. A woman related to Summers, Ms. Westbrook, took to Facebook to give additional information about the circumstances surrounding her death and to warn drivers to stay in their vehicles in dangerous situations. I quote from her post, "Words escape me. My mind cannot even wrap around what has happened. Christine Summers was a beautiful, hardworking wife, mom, and grandmother. She and her husband, my first cousin, Lamar, had been truck drivers for at least 30 years. They were team drivers for at least 20 or so of those years. Christine had been driving solo for a while now due to some health issues Lamar has been dealing with. Last Wednesday morning was her last run. She was talking to Lamar on her headset when she told him she thought she may have hit someone. She was on 5920 in Birmingham, Alabama. Apparently she stopped to check, and that was the last stop she made. Someone beat her to death. There have been several of these interstate deaths reported lately. Word is that drivers are being targeted. Both my sons, some of my nephews, and several friends are drivers. Please be careful out over the road. We want you all to get back home safe. Apparently these people are throwing something at the trucks, making the driver think they have hit something or someone. If that driver gets out of his or her truck to check, then they may not get back in. It's not just in Alabama. It happened in Texas yesterday. Only the driver was shot and then crashed his truck. Drivers, please be aware of your surroundings. Vehicle drivers, be aware also. Do not exit your truck or vehicle. Call 911. Our condolences to the Summers family. You're in our thoughts and prayers from another lady driver. And our top story, a man leaves Tesla in autopilot mode to watch a movie, nearly kills 2 police officers. 2 police officers narrowly escaped injury and possible death after a Tesla on autopilot mode crashed into their parked vehicles. This happened in Spring Hope, North Carolina. 66-year-old emergency room doctor switched his Tesla into autopilot mode and began watching a movie on his phone as the car drove for him back home to Raleigh. A doctor should frickin' know better. As the car approached a lane closure on Highway 64, the autopilot system apparently malfunctioned, sending the vehicle crashing to Nash County Sheriff's Officer patrol car and a state highway patrol car as both officers stood outside of their vehicles. Luckily, the state trooper pushed our deputy out of the way when he heard the tire squall. In an instant, we could have lost our life or several lives. It would have been very horrific. At the time of the crash, the deputy was overseeing the overnight U.S. Highway 64 lane closure, and the highway patrol trooper was investigating a separate crash. While the Tesla is marketed as having full self-driving capabilities, the website still states that the car requires attention from the driver, even while in autopilot mode. Golee had been charged with a move-over violation and viewing a television device while driving. That's it? I would get him for attempted homicide. Good Lord. And this next story, top of a truck sweet corn load is sheared off by a bridge. Cameras happened to be rolling in Minnesota when a truck hauling a big load of sweet corn encountered a low bridge. The video was captured at 7th Street in Faribault, Minnesota, and shared by shared on social media. And remember I talked about Tesla having electric trucks because, California is pushing zero emissions by 2045. Well, in this article, a Russian hacker is arrested for attempting to bribe a Tesla worker into installing malware into the trucks. Federal authorities say that they have arrested a Russian national who tried to hack Tesla's company network. The U.S. Department of Justice, DOJ, announced that 27-year-old Russian citizen Igor something or other has been arrested and charged with 1 count of conspiracy to intentionally cause damage to a protected computer. According to the DOJ news release, he traveled to Sparks, Nevada, where Tesla's Gigafactory is located, and from around July 15th to about August 22nd, allegedly conspired to bribe a Tesla employee to introduce malware into Tesla's company network that allowed him and his co-conspirators to access Tesla's computer networks. The DOJ says that this Russian planned to extract data from Tesla's network and to threaten to expose it to the public if a ransom wasn't made, trying to do ransomware. He reportedly promised to pay the employee $1 million after the malware was introduced. He then went so far as to provide the employee with a burner phone and told him to leave it on an airplane mode until after the malware was introduced and the $1 million bribe was transferred. However, the employee contacted FBI, who then contacted the Russian. After he was contacted by FBI, he drove overnight from Reno to LA and tried to have an acquaintance purchase a plane ticket for him to leave the country. He was arrested in LA on August 22nd. If convicted, he faces a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. That's a drop in a bucket that he could get his accomplices to pay. Quote, as Nevada's economy diversifies and evolves into a center for technological innovation, our office will continue to prioritize protecting trade secrets and other confidential information belonging to U.S. businesses, said a U.S. attorney. Working with our law enforcement partners, we are committed to hold accountable anyone who plots to use malicious cyber attacks to harm American consumers and companies. And this next story, truckers to hold special place of honor in this year's Truckers Parade Against Cancer. These are all the people who have kept all the products in our stores we needed and kept us going through the pandemic, said the founder of the event. Each year, Virginia hosts the Truckers Parade Against Cancer in support of cancer research. Typically, the parade begins at a local school, and thousands gather to watch as truckers parade down the highway before they are given lunch to thank them for their support. This year, however, the parade is looking at a little different due to the effects of virus. Because of special role truck drivers have played in our lives this year, the parade founder is looking to honor truck drivers for all their hard work in addition to supporting cancer research. And I quote from the article, these are all the people who have kept all the products in our stores we needed and kept us going through this virus. I think it would be awesome for people to come and hold signs and banners and things you made to let the truck drivers know you appreciate what they have done. These guys are just a great group of people, men and women who have participated in this. Cindy Dixon, founder of the annual local event. I do think that this is a very important part of this, and that way the truck drivers will know we do appreciate what they have done. When they didn't have truck stops and bathrooms and places to eat and places to sleep, they were still out there, and it is important we recognize this. Truck drivers have been very important. If trucking companies shut down like other businesses, we would have had a lot more problems in this world, end quote. The Truckers Parade Against Cancer acts as a fundraiser for the Relay for Life of the Twin Counties, with all the funds raised going to American Cancer Society. Each participating semi-truck boasts a banner in honor of somebody who has fought a battle with cancer, and the event typically raises about $10,000, making it one of the top fundraisers for that organization. The parade was scheduled and it ran is going to be September 19th and will begin at the Grover King VFW post in Hillsville at 2 p.m. before making it onto U.S. Highway 58 and traveling all the way down to Independence behind the old courthouse. Truck drivers will be provided with snacks in lieu of the traditional meal in order to comply with current virus guidelines. We will give them their banner and snack and try to follow all CDC guidelines to help them stay safe. All volunteers will be wearing masks, and we will do everything we can to protect our people. Dixon says that many businesses along the route will allow parking for spectators, allowing plenty of room for social distancing. Quote, if you do watch from a place of business, make sure you don't leave trash since they are allowing people to watch. That is a convenience for us, and we want to thank them and respect them. Buy something like a drink or water to stay hydrated as the parade comes by. One other thing we would like to ask people is if you are out on 58 during the parade to make every effort to try not to pull into and between our trucks so we can keep our vehicles together as much as possible, because traffic does cause it to break up and people think it is over. We are not an event that throws candy to children. It's an event to honor those who have fought the battle, some who have lost the battle, and bring awareness to this in a way to have our truck drivers participate and be able to honor loved ones also. So if anyone is interested, you may call Dixon at 276-237-1414. That's 276-237-1414. That is going on this weekend, September 19th in Virginia. And our next story is a trucking company owed drivers $3,000 after violating the virus legislation. A Florida trucking company has paid back $3,110 to its employees after violating the Emergency Paid Sick Leave Act, part of the Federal Families First Virus Response Act. According to the Department of Labor in Hialeah, Florida, refused to provide emergency paid sick leave to two workers getting tested after believing they may have contracted the virus. Both tested positive, and Milam continued to refuse paid sick leave despite the federal law. Anyone looking to report a complaint is encouraged to contact Labor's Wage and Hour Division Miami office. That's if you're in Florida. And a set of doubles, or otherwise known as wiggle wagons, makes the scariest pass we've ever seen. Yeah, a couple of his right side is completely off the damn ground. This video of a truck driver passing another semi on Nevada highway while hauling triple trailers will leave you sweating. Looks like he's hauling doubles, though, from this vantage point. We tried to call NHP in the Fallon office, but they said leave a message. I wonder how much further this triple is going to make it. We're proud of our safety culture at OnTrack, and we're disturbed to learn of the video of the unsafe tractor trailer. Cargo safety and security are paramount to our company, and we expect the same from the providers in our network. We investigated the issue with the contracted company who took immediate action. The driver in question no longer provides services for OnTrack. There you go. We fired his ass. There you go. And a California Highway Patrol blames a forklift for a massive trailer failure. Yeah, the whole bottom of the floor came off. But it's an old, guess what, Swift trailer. California Highway Patrol says the weight of a forklift was too much for a trailer, causing serious structural collapse at a scale house. At least it was at a scale house. They said over the weekend of August 31st, the last end of August, that the trailer failure occurred in their Mesa Commercial Vehicle Enforcement Facility. The tractor trailer was determined to be overweight after it crossed the scale. They say that the scale weight at the time of the accident was the steering axle 11,060, the drive axles were 36,260, and the trailer axles were 30,560. California Highway Patrol confirmed that the gross vehicle weight was 77,880 pounds. The dual axle limit in California is 34,000 pounds. All he had to do was move it off scoot up the trailer tandems about 8 to 10 holes, and he would have been fine. He had a good 3,000 pounds to move. The trucking company was told to make the load legal before they would be allowed to leave the facility. And it appears the failure occurred after the tandems were slid to the rear and the extra weight of the forklift was added to the trailer. The trailer frame caused the truck's load to fall to the ground. They pointed out that from a safety standpoint, it could not have been much worse. Fortunately, this happened at our facility and not on the freeway. Yeah, the landing gear's on the ground. The whole side of the whole side of the trailer along the bottom edge is completely on the ground. The whole undercarriage is on the doggone ground. And next up, police say that a car driver's fiery wrong-way crash with a semi may have been intentional. Michigan State Police are investigating a fatal head-on crash that shut down a major interstate. The crash occurred on Sunday, August 30th at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on southbound I-69. Troopers say that 44-year-old Shannon Lee Risner drove a sedan north in the southbound lanes of I-69 and caused a head-on collision with a southbound semi. Both vehicles were engulfed in flames following that collision. Risner was pronounced dead at the scene. Illinois-based truck driver Anthony Washington was not injured in the crash. Southbound I-69 was closed for hours for cleanup and investigation. Troopers say that earlier investigations suggest that Risner was despondent and that the crash may have been intentional. And a driver in this article warns of the importance of move-over law after a near-death experience. A truck driver suffered minor injuries over the weekend after a semi-truck hauling an oversized load didn't observe the move-over rule. Maybe he couldn't. Maybe he had cars coming up his left side. A driver was pulled over on the right shoulder after a motorist lost their load, leaving debris scattered across the highway. There was a hazard in my lane, so I pulled over for less than 5 minutes to save someone's life because traffic was moving at 80 plus miles an hour. The guy and I retrieved the items that were lost all over the road. According to this person, he put on his hazard to stop to help the motorist gather the lost load. After the two finished, he was standing by his driver's side door, hand signaling traffic to move over, when the oversized semi-truck failed to move into the left lane, striking the back of Brandon's rig. Luckily, Brandon realized what was happening and was able to hop inside the truck before impact, likely saving his life. The left lane was totally empty. He wasn't paying attention. Everyone else moved over except him. He said that the incident left him with a lot of back, shoulder, and hip pain. Well, you shouldn't have jumped in your truck, you idiot. But that he is alive and is looking forward to going home so he can spend some time with his newborn child. And scream workman's comp. You know, you don't stand on the side of the road next to your frickin' truck yet, numbnut. And a suspect is charged in brutal murder of this female driver in Alabama. A man has been arrested and charged after allegedly beating a veteran truck driver to death outside of a truck on the Alabama interstate. Charles Leicester Gibson, 39, has been charged with murder in connection with the death of Christine Summers. Summers hung up the phone and dialed 911, then got out to check for damage. She thought she hit something. It was then that Gibson reportedly attacked her while she was still on the phone with the 911 operator. The motive for the attack is unknown. Summers' body was discovered shortly after her death by a fellow driver who stopped after seeing her lying on the ground near her truck. He called 911 after seeing her bloody and unresponsive, but Summers was pronounced dead at the scene. According to the news outlet, Gibson was taken into custody within an hour of the murder by Hueytown Police Department after they received a call about a man standing in the street. Hueytown Police knew that Gibson was wanted in connection with a homicide and took him to jail to await questioning by state authorities. While at the jail, Gibson also attacked two police officers who suffered minor injuries. He'd been issued 2 charges of aggravated assault against a police officer in addition to the murder charge. He is housed in a Jefferson County jail since August 22nd. He's being held on $1.575 million bond. So good. At least they got the guy. And next, this trucking insurance provider is giving back to truck drivers in an amazing way. An independent trucking insurance agency recently announced a new donation program designed to do good for men and women of the trucking community. They say they will donate $50 for every auto liability policy they write to 2 of the nation's most notable trucking companies, St. Christopher Truckers Relief Fund and Truckers Final Mile. The company says that the donations will begin in September and will continue for the foreseeable future as a way to show support for the trucking community. St. Christopher Truckers Relief Fund was established in 2007 and is a charity that provides assistance to the families of truckers who are out of work due to injury or illness. The fund provides household living expenses to help support the families of drivers who are out of work due to medical issues. St. Christopher Relief Fund also supports preventive medical programs aimed at improving truck driver health. Truckers Final Mile, funded by a 30-year veteran truck driver that helps to reunite families with their truck driver loved ones who suffer serious illness, injury, or death while out on the road. The organization is best known for their efforts in returning the remains of drivers who pass away while they are over the road to their families. These donations in support of these two charity organizations are risk management's way of giving back to men and women of the trucking industry who keep our trucking country rolling. And this story, troopers say a semi-driver likely saved life on Interstate 80 over the weekend. On Saturday, August 29th, an incident occurred on Interstate 80. Troopers say that a truck driver was preparing to pass a silver SUV when he spotted a black SUV driving the wrong way. The truck driver was able to avoid the head-on crash with the black SUV and only had a minor collision with a silver SUV. Nebraska State Police say that the elderly driver of the black SUV was reunited with her family. This could have been a tragedy, but this professional driver did an incredible job. Yeah, he stayed behind the people instead of getting pissed off and trying to pass somebody. Thanks to him, everybody was able to get home without injury. And next, two are arrested in connection with cargo thefts at Illinois rest areas. Illinois State Police have arrested two people in connection with a series of cargo thefts. Travis Burrows, 26, and Ms. Reginald Elston, 25, have been arrested on charges of possession of stolen goods on the morning of August 28th. The arrests come following a cargo theft investigation launched back in November of 2019 at Illinois State Toll Highway Authority Oasis truck lots. After receiving multiple calls from truckers, Illinois State Police said that they discovered a string of cargo thefts and criminal activity that targeted semi-trailers and railroad yards along the tollway. As the investigation continued, Illinois State Police issued a warning to truckers in February of 2020 that I reported on about a theft ring that has impacted the westbound Three Rivers rest area and Interstate 80 near Minooka for an extended period. It is now impacting the eastbound rest area as well. After searching that home where the arrests were made, authorities discovered stolen items from the recent cargo theft reports, including coffee items and apparel. Police also recovered cannabis, a handgun, 5 firearm magazines, and multiple calibers of ammunition. In addition to the possession of stolen goods charge, Burrows was also charged with 1 count of unlawful use of a weapon. Illinois State Police conducted the investigation with the assistance of North Central Narcotics Task Force. This investigation is still active and ongoing. And a trucker says that big rigs are under attack back in August on Mississippi interstates. A truck driver issued a warning to the trucking community after he said that several drivers were attacked with objects being thrown from an overpass. Andrew Meeks took to social media to warn others to use caution when traveling on Interstate 20 in Mississippi after he says large objects and rocks were thrown at trucks from an overpass. His wife and him were traveling, and 3 other drivers were attacked tonight on I-20 westbound in Mississippi, just east of Tumsumba, mile marker 169. Large objects and rocks were being thrown or launched at big rigs from an overpass. Sounded like a cannonball hitting the windshield. Meek said that he and his wife were not seriously injured during the attack, but that it could have been much worse. However, he said that a driver friend was struck in the face by a rock. Meeks asked that truckers traveling in that area use caution and said that social media should feel free to share to others so that others know to be on the lookout. His posts have been shared over 2,600 times in just a few days. I greatly, greatly appreciate each and every one of you who tune in to listen to me each week here on the cafe. If you wouldn't mind, please subscribe using the link below, or on CloudHub, please subscribe at the top of the page. I greatly, greatly appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. As I said, please, if you wouldn't mind, stop in if you're on Facebook and give us a like on Facebook. Also join our discussion group at Julia's Truckin' Cafe Regulars. And if you wouldn't mind, subscribing to our newsletter at juliastruckingcafe.com/newsletter. So thank you so much for tuning in, and until you have been listening to Julia's Truckin' Cafe Truckin' News Hour. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Take care. Have a blessed day.